Hello. It's been a long time. I've been doing some working and some real reading. And all the while I was reading the book, I had in mind that I want to share it, to share my impressions about it and to introduce it to you. But actually, I hated going back to the beginning of the text because the book I want to introduce to you, it arose some really peculiar feelings in me and emotions. Well, that's what I love in books. They set you to some peculiar feeling, be it despair or joy or calm happiness or adventurous mood or something like that. That's the best thing they've got. Well, but these, what I've got in my ebook, I cannot say it is something different. It has aroused in me really negative emotions, so I really hated rereading it. Well, to remind myself the beginning. But let's share the feelings. When she was home from her boarding school, I used to see her almost every day sometimes, because their house was right opposite the town hall annex. She and her younger sister used to go in and out a lot, often with young men, which of course I didn't like. When I had free moment from the files and ledgers, I stood by the window and used to look down over the road, over the frosting, and sometimes I'd see her. In the evening, I marked it in my observations diary, at first with an X, and then, when I knew her name, with M. I saw her several times outside too. I stood right behind her once in the queue at the public library down Crossfield Street. She didn't look once at me, but I watched the back of her head and her hair in a long pigtail. It was very pale, silky, like burnt cocoons, all in one pigtail coming down almost to her waist, sometimes in front, sometimes at the back. Sometimes she wore it up. Only once, before she came to me by my guest here, did I have the privilege to see her with it loose, and it took my breath away. It was so beautiful, like a mermaid. Another time, one Saturday off, when I went up to Natural History Museum, I came back on the same train. She sat 3 seats down, then sideways to me, and read a book. So I could watch her for 45 minutes. Seeing her always made me feel like I was catching a rarity, going up to it very carefully, heart in mouth, as they say. A pale clouded yellow, for instance. It's a butterfly. I always thought of her like that. I mean, words like elusive or sporadic and very refined. Not like the other ones, even the pretty ones. More for the real connoisseur. The year she was still at school, I didn't know who she was, only how her father was Dr. Gray, and some talk I overheard once at a bug section meeting about how her mother drank. I heard her mother speak once in the shop. She had a la-di-da voice, and you could see she was the type to drink too much makeup, etc. Well, there was the bit in the local paper about the scholarship she had won and how clever she was, and her name as beautiful as herself, Miranda. So I knew she was up in London studying art. It really made a difference, that newspaper article. It seemed like we've become more intimate, although of course we still didn't know each other in an ordinary way. Well, even this monologue, as you see, it is like a monologue. Even this, the small part of the monologue, the small part of the beginning, it already set a really disturbing mood in me. It was disturbing in every way. All the maniac films I've watched, all the maniac things I've heard, it all echoed in these lines. Like watching stealthily, thinking high thoughts about everything, putting all the affair about secretly spying another person like something of a high flow. All these features were so like, I don't know, The Silence of the Lambs, or, well, the highest example of mine is The Cell. Well, it's hard to say, and this book is called The Collector, and the person is a collector of butterflies. But suddenly you have like analogy. He was collecting butterflies and now he's collecting women. Butterfly, women, all associated with the feminine. You know, I'm always glad when I can solve the, how can I say, analogy, something hidden, but something that I am capable of unsolving and reading through the lines or something. And in this case it is not very difficult, by the way. The fact that he's collecting butterflies, it sets reminiscences with Vladimir Nabokov, the immigrant writer, and he was also a very passionate collector of butterflies, and his works of literature, of course, were really very peculiar, about people that found themselves dead at the beginning, about strange people in themselves. Something like this character. This character is like in himself. He thinks himself a special guy, and everybody else common and unworthy. And it like adds up to the impression of real disturbance. And while reading, there were some lines, for example, in here, before she was my guest here, we could really make the outcome quite clearly predictable. And while reading this piece, I was constantly thinking that, oh my God, I pity her. I worry for her, and I really want very much her to escape the situation she came from. But at the same time, by these small things, like the line, after she had done what she had done, I just understand. Sorry, girl, it's just hopeless. Really, I'm so much worried about you until the very end, but it's just going to be hopeless because the narrator is giving little clues that makes us think that, oh, please, send her a miracle, because this situation is going really just in the straight line to the worst. Well, that thing, a small device That is actually, if you think about it closer, it is like a real expressive device of the big scale, of the text scale, and using it, he gives the reader an understanding that it will go a natural way. There will be no other way out. I try not to set any spoilers to the plot because it is really not challenging. It is really natural to follow the plot twists and to see, oh my God, what will she do this time? What will she do next? And how will he react? So I really try hard not to spoil anything. So by giving such a little clues, the author gives us the clear understanding that there can be miracle, but in the lines, writing these lines, the character just knows what will happen, and it gives us the clue that, come on, it will go as it goes, as it should go. Well, it really adds up suspense. I was, in a way, enjoying it, though, as I said, the general impression is of a really horrible, menacing, the feeling of suspense and constant threat sooner or later. So like building up pressure, like, oh my God, there should happen something really important and crucial or something like that. And that is usually the way it goes with the books that make you feel something bad. Yes, you hate reading them, but you cannot stop. That's awesome. And to highlight all that, at the end, just a little bit more reading, one final passage of the beginning, just to hook you up a little. I can't say what it was. The very first time I saw her, I knew she was the only one. Of course, I'm not mad. I knew it was just a dream, and it always would have been it if it hadn't been for the money. I used to have daydreams about her. I used to think of stories where I met her, did things she admired, married her and all that. Nothing nasty. That was never until what I'll explain later. She drew pictures and I looked after my collection in my dreams. It was always she loving me and my collection, drawing and coloring them, working together in a beautiful modern house in a big room with one of those huge glass windows, meeting there of the bug section where instead of saying almost nothing, in case I made mistakes, we were the popular host and hostess. She all pretty with her pale blonde hair and the grey eyes, and of course the other men all green around the grills. Sorry, the gills. That's it. There will be no parts. This book is horrible and beautifully made. Horrible, really. So you can enjoy it. Try. It's not very long, by the way. Bye bye.